If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
All right, back on the show is the reigning, now defending, undisputed Cage Warriors light heavyweight champion, Modestas Bukauskas, who successfully defended his title on Friday at Cage Warriors 111 in the co-main event against Ricardo Nasiglia. He got it done with some of the most ferocious elbows that you will ever see in the first round. The champ is back. How are you, Modestas?
Yeah, I'm doing very well, thank you. Yeah, just enjoying the moment, but at the same time, ready to get back to work also.
You don't even look like you've been in a fight at all. Is that common for you?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna try and make it a recurring thing, man. Do you know what I mean? I want to keep these brain cells in place as much as possible and try not to make my nose any wonkier than it already is. So, yeah, hopefully I can keep dodging these shots.
It was a fantastic performance. Congratulations. You finished the fight very quickly and very emphatically. How does it all feel 4 days later after your first title defense?
Yeah, I mean, it feels great. Obviously, you know, I had a very, very tough opponent. He's definitely my toughest opponent to date. So, you know, coming out with the win was obviously an emphatic feeling for me. You know, it was almost like very surreal. I'd visualized everything, you know, as I did before my last fight. You know, it's just become a sort of a thing that I do now. And it almost felt like I was having deja vu, you know, when I was actually in the cage and doing the job. You know, obviously in my head, I'd pictured that I'd want it to end in a different way, but I wanted it to end by knockout, and it did. So, yeah, man, it's a great feeling. But at the same time, you know, 1 or 2 days of rest, and my mind's already floating back onto the MMA train. And he's like, I've got to get back to training. I've got to get better. What if these other guys are working harder than me? That constant mindset rushes in. So already yesterday, I went back to normal training, and I'm just enjoying it, man.
I am not a fighter, and there are many people probably watching us right now who are not fighters. So allow us to live vicariously through you. When you landed that finishing shot and you felt his body go and the fight was over, like, what does that feel like? Like, can you describe that feeling?
Yeah, really for me, whenever those shots were happening, I sort of didn't know that he was going at the first instant, because at the beginning I landed maybe one at, like, you know, a couple of maybe not so hot, then one clean elbow, right, trying to get past his guard, because obviously he was blocking his head and he was trying to cover up a little bit. And then afterwards, he sort of found an opening, like, well, he left an opening. And then I heard Leon Roberts say in the corner, you know, or watch the back of the head. And actually, weirdly enough as well, like, it's funny how everything just, like, you know, the stars align and they come into place. But I had the rules meeting, and they were just going over the new rules, saying that, you know, one hand or fist on the floor is now a grounded opponent and not two hands. And they went back to the old rules. And then they said, do you have any other questions? And I said, well, where's the back of the head? And they went over it with me, you know, saying that the strip down the back of the head, you know, is an illegal blow, but anything on the side of the top of the ear is good. And again, in training, me and my dad, we were working the takedown defense and working. He said, listen, if you get in this position, throw some elbows to the head. And then in the corner, I hear my dad saying, elbows, elbows, elbows. So after that, I saw like a bit of an opening. Like, after I landed that one hard shot, I saw he sort of, like, you could feel in the way he was holding me that it was hard. And mate, when you feel that, obviously you connect one shot, and then I started doing one elbow, then two, then three. At that point, you're just like, I'm just trying to get him out of there. Like, it's weird, because I just put all you almost put all your energy and effort in just striking as hard and as fast as you can. Like, you really do feel like, you know, like you're almost in a nightmare, and like the guys are trying to kill you or something, and you're almost fighting to the death. So when those shots are landing, you're just like, I just want to keep going. Like, you feel like you can't stop. Like, it's weird. You feel like you can't stop. And I didn't know that he was out, like completely knocked out, until after when I tried helping him up, and I even saw the footage back. So it's weird when you see like the finishing blows and you start landing a couple of them, you just don't want to stop. You're like, You just really just want to put this guy out. And it's such a weird, like, you'd probably think of maybe a very nasty thing to think, but, and then obviously, jumping on the cage and doing all my, all that stuff, all my antics afterwards. But as soon as all my emotion from winning and achieving the success that I wanted to achieve and all the visualizations coming true, and everything sort of calmed down, I was actually very worried about my opponent. I actually, I went to help him up. I wanted to, tell him, like, thank you for your challenge and stuff like that. And obviously to see him sort of stumbling as he stood up, me just being an empathetic guy, I was like, I just want my opponent to be okay now. So, like, in the moment, you're trying to kill the guy, but then afterwards, you just want them to be okay, and you don't want any harm to go on him or yourself. So, but yeah, obviously in the moment, you get like an insane rush, like the most. I can't even begin to describe it. When I jumped over that cage, I was screaming in front of the crowd, like it's like all the endorphins are like shooting to the max, and just like they're almost like spilling out of my body. Is absolutely mad.
We discussed, and one of the key takeaways from our last conversation is that you felt like you needed to defend that title to feel like the champion. Is it safe to say that you feel like a champion right now?
Yeah, I feel like now, obviously, there's no questions now, because even after my last fight, they're like, oh, it took you to the 4th round. You were down 3 rounds on the scorecards. Even though I probably wouldn't say I was down all 3 rounds after I watched it back. But yeah, now it's like, okay, now I've solidified that it wasn't just a fluke when I won the title. Now I've actually won it legitimately. Obviously, at the end of the day, you just want to keep doing your thing. You want to keep defending. You want to keep winning. But yeah, definitely, champion sits well. But that also in my head makes me think, now I've just got to work even harder, or I've got to make sure I get even better, so that it becomes even more hard to try and beat me, and I'll give them no room to even get an inch over me.
Ricardo, very tough opponent. He was on a really strong run heading into that fight, 8-1. He had a whole bunch of finishes. And like you sort of mentioned, a lot of people watching from the outside looking at this fight thought this was going to be your true litmus test in the sport, and you passed it with flying colors. I'm not going to say that the fight was easy. I mean, your face certainly looks like you didn't get in a fight, but were you surprised that it went as quickly as it did, considering the war you had in your last fight and how the preparations were a little bit similar from the last fight to this one?
Yeah, I actually would say that I was more I'd say I was a bit more nervous for this fight, because in my opinion, I mean, both Marfin and Ricardo are amazing fighters and amazing athletes. But obviously Ricardo posed a threat in the striking department more so than Marfin did. In terms of, he's got heavy hands. I mean, he knocked down one opponent with literally one shot at the beginning of the round, and he kind of goes at his opponent. So obviously and his ground and pound is very heavy. Like from what I saw, against every opponent, he just started landing strikes and they just couldn't handle it. So obviously for me, that was something where I knew I had to become even better at the things that I was doing in order to negate, because he seemed to be more dangerous on the floor in terms of the striking and stuff like that. So he did. I'd say, he posed another threat, or maybe an extended level of a threat from my last opponent. But like I say, all the training just went the same. And then I sort of had to also remind myself that, as much as they're amazing athletes and they completely destroyed their opponents and they've done really well, I am also on another level. I've got to remind myself as well that I'm training hard to be on a completely different level to what they have seen. So that also spurred me on to get the defenses, to feel sharp also myself. So, but yeah, very, very good athlete. And yeah, I'm glad obviously it turned out the way that it did. I thought they was going to throw more heavier strikes. I didn't expect him to go straight for grappling. So when I threw that overhand, he ducked straight away. Again, I didn't expect that. It was almost the same with Marfin. I threw punches, and then he went straight for wrestling. I expected both of them to sort of want to strike with me a little bit more in order to set up their, because they were doing that with their previous opponents, or they're landing heavy shots. So, yeah, I expected it to go longer, but at the same time, I look back at the time and I was like, it ended at 3:31, I believe, and I'm like, that round went quick, man. Like literally, as soon as I got in it, it was almost the end. I didn't realize that there was only one, like, less than 2 minutes left in that round. So obviously, I guess that's something for me to work on, is maybe have a bit of a quicker start, because already that round was, went down the drain already. So, but yeah, man, I was happy that it ended early as well, because I finished all my fights when the opponent had been beating me, so it kind of looks like he was losing on the scorecards, but then he comes back. But now it's like, okay, now I've got like a legitimate finish in the first round. So now again, there's even less questions asked about me being on a different level to my opponents.
It's 5 finishes in a row now. You have the gold, you defended the gold, but you did something you haven't done before. Not only were you on the main card for the first time in Cage Warriors, you ended up being the co-main event in London. What did that all mean to you to have that spot and to have that kind of showing?
Yeah, like I said, I was really excited. I was so excited. Obviously I feel really bad, for Paddy, with his opponent missing weight and stuff like that. And then, obviously Steve Aimable unfortunately missed weight just literally by a hair. And then and then when they told me that when that happened and I got bumped up, I'm like, I love this. I'm like, now I've got even more like of a higher profile, because now I'm towards the end, although I wasn't the main event, but now I'm the co-main event. So that's sort of like a big deal. Like, and I've said this the whole time. I've said this in previous interviews. I want to have those big challenges. I want to have the biggest spotlight on me. And then I feel like that's what's going to get the best out of me. And then that's what's going to help me to embrace that situation even more, to make me want to rise up to an even bigger occasion. And yeah, so for me, having all eyes on me and having that attention was actually absolutely amazing for me, because I've never had that much attention on me before, especially since it's like pretty much a world stage at Cage Warriors, being the biggest promotion in Europe. So yeah, it meant a lot, but then it also meant that I just enjoyed it even more. I'm like, well, hell yeah. I mean, it's not every day you get to be in this position. So I was just very, very grateful and blessed that it happened, and even more blessed that it turned out the way that it did.
Perfect segue in terms of getting more attention and more eyeballs, because I actually posted this on Twitter moments after your win. I think you punched your ticket with that performance. I don't want to be a jinx or anything like that, but if you add the fact that the UFC is coming to London in March, I mean, come on, man. Like, at this point, what else do you need to do? Like, timing is everything. You've checked off all the boxes here, in my opinion. Do you feel confident that phone is going to ring a ding ding here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you got to see what maybe the matchmakers are thinking of certain things, and they're trying to sort certain things out. But again, as you said, in my opinion, if you look at light heavyweights from Britain or who are actually from London, yeah, so light heavyweights from London who are in the UFC, I believe I would literally be the only one. I mean, there's others that are from England, or that are from Scotland, or other areas in Britain, but I'm actually from London. So I would sell. In my view, I would probably sell highly to that crowd. Being from there, and that being the town that I've lived in pretty much my whole life and stuff. That obviously representing Lithuania also, but the fact that I've been living here for ages, and as I say, I sound very British, anyways. But yeah, I mean, with those 3 finishes against 3 top level fighters, I think that's, I mean, listen, there's a lot of great light heavyweights out there but they're all getting signed, and some guys are like 7-0 or 6-0 and stuff like that, and I'm like, I'm 10-2 now, 6-0 as a light heavyweight, and I've finished 3 high level opponents. So in my eyes, obviously, it's always been my goal to want to fight the best and fight the best in the world. And I feel like for me to even show my skill set even more, like to even go that next level, that will make me rise up even more to the occasion, is to be fighting in the UFC. So of course I feel I'm ready, but we'll see if fate goes my way. And but it's my job, as I say, to train, get better, do my thing, and then hopefully that call will come.
I remember our first conversation, you talked about meeting and training with John Jones and then running into him some years later. Have you talked to John? Have you been in communication either maybe on social media, anything after the big win or any well wishes heading into it?
Well, he's a very busy guy. I can understand he's got a lot going on. He trains hard, and he's got loads of media, and he probably has millions of people message him all the time. I'm not 100% sure what it's like, but being the light heavyweight champion of the world, I can imagine that's what sort of he has on his plate. Because obviously I met him before the last fight, and then I mentioned him in one of my posts, and I think that probably maybe being tagged in a photo, he probably saw, oh, okay, so this guy, and then he actually, do you know what, on one of my videos, I had me just doing a couple of spinning kicks on a bag, and he commented it saying clean and stuff like that. So obviously he showed a bit of love and stuff like that. I haven't been in contact with him as of late. Like I say, I may reach out to him, but I know he's an amazing guy. He always shows love whenever he sees the post and stuff like that. So hopefully he'll see that last post and we can get people talking about it even more.
Yeah, it could be a future opponent for you in a few years if things keep going in this direction. And with that being said, I personally, and I'm not just saying this because you're sitting across from me virtually right now, I think you deserve this opportunity to get on that London card for the UFC, but I think everyone can agree that your time is coming at least, and we appreciate you jumping back on here and talking about the big win, Modestas. By the way, I have to bring this up. Has your phone and social media been blowing up with potential love interests since Friday? I mean, reality TV star, clearly a classically trained dancer, a Cage Warriors champion. The ladies dig the gold, man. Is your social calendar starting to fill up?
Well, you get a couple more messages here and there. You get a couple of girls, comment, and you put up a photo here and there, and then they give you nice comments here and stuff like that. I mean, it's crazy because for me a lot more girls that wouldn't have contacted me before are now contacting me. So, I guess there are those perks as well. But I'll be extremely honest with you. When I'm in fight mode or when I'm thinking about my training and stuff like that, not to say that I don't have any time, but I'd say most of the time, yeah, probably not. But I'm not really thinking too much about that. I know people might find that a bit weird, and oh, you're 25, you're in your prime. Why are you not, thinking about going to see all these girls and and talk to them and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, when I got this such a big goal that I want to achieve, and I want to fight in the UFC, and I want to make a legacy and stuff like that, my mind's always on training. I know sometimes it's good to have a little bit of a break, and I should probably try and have a bit more of a break now. But it's a constant thing. Martial arts is life. It's not just we're going to do 8 weeks in a training camp, then we're going to go and rest until the next one. It's a constant learning process. But yeah, look, I get more messages. Sometimes if I can fit in a slot, I'll go and meet someone. For me, it's just all about obviously enjoying life, man. I enjoy the training. I enjoy that. So then, if I'm going to enjoy having some company with some friends, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to lie. On the Saturday night after the fight, obviously, I went out. You know what I mean? You got to give some sort of celebration out there. Had a couple of drinks or 10 or 20, that night and stuff with some friends. So, I just enjoy, being around good people, being around people that love me and I love them. And, obviously if the phone keeps ringing more and, we see some good prospects, and we might take some up. We might take some up here and there.
I think you're probably you sound to me like you're a romantic guy at heart. Like you're not looking to meet a girl at a bar or anything like that. I mean, if it happens, it happens. But you're looking for that meet cute moment. You're walking down the street, pretty woman walks by you, drops her briefcase, and papers fall over the place. You bend down and you pick them up and help her out, and you stare at each other in the eyes, and you have that moment where you hear the classical music in the background. I think you're looking for a moment like that. That's what it sounds like. It's tough being a fighter.
Oh yeah, I mean that would be like the proper picture perfect sort of scenario. Not sure that there's many out there, but yeah, obviously, you need someone to understand what you're doing. I think there's a lot of people that don't understand really what a fighter goes through. I mean, it seems all glamorous on the outside when you're winning stuff and stuff like that, but people haven't been around me. There's people that haven't been around me during my darkest times, when I lost 2 in a row, So there's a lot of moments and there's a lot of hard, and I mean, yeah, like even 3 weeks before the fight, dislocating my knee. I mean, there's a lot of these times that people don't get. And, even, like, and I understand, like, I wouldn't want to, for a girl, like, obviously I understand, you need to have attention and stuff like that. And that's completely understandable. There's nothing wrong about that. And, I would almost feel bad because I wouldn't be able to do that because, when you're chasing a dream like this, training 6 times a week and 6 days a week and stuff like that, it's, weekends are like the only sort of free time, and, it's hard to sort of plan stuff. But, like you said, maybe fate will turn a corner and, maybe a beautiful girl would just come dropping from the sky, sitting in front of me, at the shop one day, and, all stars will fly everywhere. So, but yeah, man, like I say, just all about enjoying the experience, enjoying life, and yeah, see what comes up, man.
Couldn't agree more. Congratulations on the win, Modestas. Before we let you go, please take the floor to let everyone know where to find you on the web, social media, shout outs, anything else you want to say to the folks. The floor is yours.
Wicked. So my Instagram is MODYB24. My Twitter is capital M and capital B, but it's MODESTASBUKAUS1. My Facebook is just my full name again, the longest-winded name ever. I just want to give a massive, obviously, shout out to all my sponsors and all my teammates. My dad, Danny Batten, Denison Sutherland. You got Mill Hill BJJ, Roger Gracie's, Legion, BST Academy. There's so many people that have helped me out and that give me support. That I love absolutely every single one of you. You know all who you are. All the sponsors are in my Instagram bio. So if you want to check those guys out, they're absolutely amazing. I also just want to give a particular shout out to my physio, because as I mentioned, I dislocated my knee 3 weeks before the fight. And it was quite a heartbreaking blow, because there was a scare that I would have to pull out from this fight. And, she was absolutely amazing. She answered my call straight away. Well, pretty much at 12 o'clock at night. The next morning, she already booked me in for an appointment, with her day being as busy as you can imagine. She booked me in straight away. She saw me. And gave me all the appropriate, exercise, all the appropriate things I needed to do to get back to full strength, to be ready for the fight. And lo and behold, she got me back to full strength. So I've got to give a massive shout out to Leanne at Distinct Physiotherapy. Absolutely smashed it. But yeah, there's so many. Like I said, there's always so many people that help me out. And listen, we're all going to succeed together. We're all going to rise together. I'm doing all this because you guys are supporting me, and we're all going to succeed together as one.
Thank you again, Modestas. All the best to you. Enjoy the holidays, and I hope that phone rings for you, man.
Thank you so much, my brother. I really appreciate it, man. And thanks again for having me on the show again, man. It really means a lot to me.